April, we told you about PGE's plans for potential power shutoffs in the hope of preventing wildfires. It has been a relatively light fire season so far, but now PGE and Pacific Power are both putting their power shutoff plans into action. The warnings for these power shutoffs last through tomorrow, meaning many people will be without power until Sunday, maybe even Monday evening. Let's take a look at who's affected. This is the PGE board showing the areas that are shut down now. So any of these colors that you see on the map shows where the power is out. So down in the south, Silver Falls City, also in the Silver Falls area, they are without power. Also in the Scotts Mills there. As we go a little bit to the north here in Clackamas County, you can see Estacada, pretty much the whole town, Sandy. And also as we go here to Corbett, the wind is just howling down the gorge here, and so there's a big concern that this east wind is going to cause all kinds of havoc there. So these areas are shut down as well by PGE, and then of course the wind as it comes in, their concern is that it's going to hit the West Hills, and so that's why they've shut down a lot of the power in these neighborhoods around the Forest Heights area, and then going farther to the west, out here in the North Plains area, Banks and Manning, that's all shut off, and moving back to the south now in the Forest Grove area, down to Gaston and beyond to the west of Carlton, and all the way down to the Shipley and Sheridan area, Willamina, Grand Ronde, those sorts of places. Those are all without power. It's a huge area and lots of people. 30,000 PGE customers shut off as of 1 p.m. this afternoon. Here's the outage map for Pacific Power, which is much more geographically diverse than PGE, which is concentrated around the greater Portland area. Pacific Power goes all over the west. So down around Diamond Lake, you can see they have shut down the power now, and in many places along Highway 138. So this is far to the south and in areas of Glide and Peel. Any brown on the map is where the power has been shut off for safety. As we come up now to the Sweet Home area, you can see there's a couple of areas in yellow. Those are areas that they're watching, and they may shut the power down, but they have not done it yet. This Cascadia, though, in the brown, that is shut down. And also part of the reservoir there, which is going to be disappointing for a lot of folks that I know that are trying to do a triathlon this weekend, tomorrow, right there. Hopefully that power will come back on, or they'll figure out a way to do it anyway. If you move up a little bit to the north, you can see that to the west of Lebanon and to the north, there's some more warning areas. And then if we go to the Santiam Canyon here with Niagara and Gates and Mill City, Mahama, you can see that a lot of these areas are shut down. There's some narrow canyons in there and a lot of blasting winds. So they want to be, of course, very careful about that. And as we look at the rest of the map, that is pretty much where those shutdowns are. Although if we come to the coast again, if we look to the west of Grand Ronde and then also into the Otis area, those are some more public power safety shutoffs from Pacific Power, trying to get ahead of these storms and the winds and not create any fire danger. This is a historic day for our area. The first time the power companies have shut off electricity in such a wide area to help prevent wildfires and images like the one you're seeing right here. As you might expect, the rollout was not perfect. Some of you got warnings that your power would turn off even though you're actually living outside the shut-off areas. Liz Morales lives northwest of Newburgh. She said she got 3 alerts yesterday and had to actually call customer service to figure out that she's living outside a planned cutoff area.
Okay, so I was reasonably assured I wasn't going to have a power outage, but just in case I watered everything, because as with most rural people that are in these areas, I'm on a well. I have a well pump. It's run by electricity. And if you have farm animals, you have pets, never mind the AC issue, water is kind of what it's about. I do have a generator, as many people do, but again, that's a whole nother thing of getting that started up. So it's no small thing to have a power outage. It's not like you just say, okay, I'll just go to a hotel. No. So you don't want to alarm people unnecessarily, which is one of my points.
She found the planned shutoff maps put out by PGE were baffling at first. The colors did not match the directions, and the terms active or not active were confusing to her. She's critical of the effort now because all of these warnings are bringing up frightening memories of 2 years ago.
Admittedly, I have a little bit of PTSD from September 2020 because I was one road away from evacuation from the Chehalem mountain fire. And that was terrifying. Much more terrifying for the people who did have to evacuate, but for those of us who are on the cusp, having to go from room to room and figure out what can I get in my car, what do I need to take, and what am I willing to completely lose. So that heightened sensitivity makes me both appreciate and be somewhat scathing of this effort.
A lot of people probably have that heightened sensitivity. So how did we get here to the point of having all these shutoffs? Well, it's all in the name of safety. In 2021, the Oregon legislature required power companies to identify high-risk areas of fire and establish plans in order to prevent those lines from sparking the fires. Before that bill was passed, PGE had only one high-risk fire zone in all of Oregon. It stretched from the town of Sandy east to Mount Hood. PGE shut down that power area during a hot windstorm of early September in 2020, and there were no fires in the area, so that plan worked. But to the south, the same hot windstorm fueled the massive Beachy Creek fire that claimed 5 lives, hundreds of structures, and thousands of acres of land. A class action lawsuit accused a second company, Pacific Power, of playing a role in the blaze, arguing some of its power lines added to the fire because Pacific Power did not shut down power in that area. But after the legislature took action last year, instead of PGE having one high-risk fire zone, they are now 10. You can see the various colors on this map. And Pacific Power generated similar maps, identifying 13 areas of high fire risk in yellow, including both rural and urban areas of Hood River, as well as the areas west and south of Medford. A few months ago, I hit the road heading to Corbett to talk with the Director of Wildfire Mitigation and Resiliency at PGE. We talked about these shutoff plans.
If the weather does turn and it has strong winds, low humidity, vegetation has low moisture content, and how our agency partners are positioning themselves, that is when we would have those criteria to say, let's turn off the power.
He told me tens of millions of dollars are being spent to keep tree branches away from power lines to try and avoid broken branches, bringing lines down, or tree limbs just falling and coming into contact with the branches and the wires. They told us work is underway to try and protect older wires as well, those more vulnerable to sparking a fire, but it's not an easy process.
You know, there is bare conductor, there is covered wire, which we call tree wire, and that is, an insulation around the wire. So that is part of our strategy as well, but we're moving into that strategy. That is not going to happen overnight. This is going to take years for us to do those investments to minimize this risk for our community.
So there are some I think I heard what you're saying is there's some places that have that special covering when
Yes.
you know it's going through a lot of trees.
Right.
But there are other places that have old wire that doesn't have that yet.
That's correct.
Okay. The company has remote weather stations in each of the high-risk fire zones to get constant updates on conditions in each location. And PGE meteorologists and fire experts are monitoring conditions from a new multi-million-dollar facility in the Portland area. That's where operators can kill power to a specific location with a push of a button. PGE tells us that assuming their systems are not damaged by the weekend windstorms, power restoration will begin Sunday morning and could be back up and running for everyone by Monday night. Now, if you want to check out the maps and see if your power could be shut off in the coming hours or days, we're here to help. Just text the word POWER to 503-226-5088 to get the latest updates and a link to the maps. You can also get the most up-to-date forecast on your phone with the KGW News app. That number one more time, text the word POWER, P-O-W-E-R, to 503-226-5088.